How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have a special guest with us. She can say her name and what she does and all that jazz.
Hey, my name is Heidi. I'm a pop singer-songwriter from Edmonton, Alberta.
Woo! Shout outs. Want to give a shout outs to Adam at Outer Research. Big ups. I love Adam. Big salutes to
We
him.
love them.
Um, but Heidi, thank you for coming on. As I mentioned before, we've been having a nice little chat before we started this episode, but
Mhm.
really was inspired by your story. Just to me personally, as you know, an Asian American, I wanted to give you your flowers, your kudos, because you
Mhm.
released a new album. This shouldn't be typical. You can check the links in the description. Go give it a listen. I told Heidi I listened to it on my errands this morning, and I was going through the feels. It took me through quite a journey, but anyway, to kind of like segue into the next part, Heidi, I wanted to know, um obviously your storyline is very interesting and kind of the reason why I wanted to have you on, but how did you get started in music? What kind of inspired you to become like a singer-songwriter, a pop artist? Because I feel like whenever I have like bands on or like other groups, it's like, oh, I went to high school, like these people I
Yeah.
know, like we just formed a band and that's how it happened. But you have quite an interesting story. So how did music play a role in like your growth as an artist, and obviously, what you do now?
Yeah, so I've always really felt comfortable on stage, and I feel like even as a young kid, I feel it felt to me like there was something on stage that completes me.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I grew up with I grew up in church. My pa- parents are pastors.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and yeah, so I grew up singing every Sunday basically, and I would
Hmm.
say that that was most of my training, and it really taught me to pick up on like harmonies and all that because they put you on the spot. So I always acknowledge that part of myself, but also I, yeah, I started singing when I was 9. I think it was earlier than that that my parents realized that, oh, she can sing in tune. And back then we were barely getting by, and I
Hmm.
I know this from memory, because like as missionaries, you don't really make as much.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
my parents were both full time, um, and so they really wanted to put me in music lessons, but we didn't have enough money to do so.
Sure.
So eventually, and this is like something that I found out later in life that me and my mom talked about. She said that she's once she realized that she couldn't put us through music school, she wanted more for her daughters. And so she decided to make a move. And from what I remember, the agreement between her and my dad was whoever gets the opportunity to work overseas and bring more money back home, um, we should do it and we should take that leap of faith. And so that's what my mom did. It just happened that she was the person who got the opportunity. And I remember the very first thing that they did after my mom sent the money back home is put me through music lessons.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was 9 at that point. Yeah.
That's crazy. And then obviously what molded you into the artist today? I think like a lot of, they gave me a lot of like for fans of stuff like that. What are
Hmm.
some artists that kind of like shaped your musical styling, what you're doing? I know we talked a little off camera about, you went through the arc of like wanting to do like pop R&B, and now I feel like on the newest release, it's like a little bit of indie, it's like a little bit of like indie
Hmm.
pop. It also has a little bit of singer songwriter, like folksy sort of stuff.
Hmm.
Like, who are kind of the artists that influenced you early on, and then obviously who are some of the artists right now that you're listening to that kind of influenced how you either go about your live performances now,
Mhm.
or like, people that are really kind of a tried and true staple of making music for you?
Yeah, so, like, as I was getting older, right after high school, everybody was, like, going through university, and
Mhm.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I felt like it was too late for me to kind of figure out the academic system here in Canada, and I didn't feel equipped to go to university right away. And so I was talking to one of my best friends, and I told them that I was very jealous about like where they're going in life and how um, they all knew what they're going to do like in the next year and
Mhm.
what classes they're going to take in university. And she asked me what I think I was good at. And I said, well, the only thing I think I'm um, really good at is singing. But like, there's nothing really you can do about that. And luckily there is actually a music program um, at McEwen University here in Edmonton, and I knew someone that did that, and he was an up and coming producer at the time, and so I gave it a shot. But before I started school, I was plotting in my head, and all I wanted to do really was perform. And at that time, I was performing at church at least like 3 or 4 times a week. And I felt a sense of loss to the thought of not being able to do that once I move on from that stage of
Sure.
life of
Yeah, yeah.
like maybe I'll become a lawyer, maybe I'll become this and that. Um, and I felt really scared not being able to have that time to um, perform.
Mhm.
And so I went to school for music, and eventually I kind of realized that um, I would need to write my own songs in order to book shows.
Sure.
Um, and when I was starting out professionally, most of my gigs were like cover songs, like
Mhm.
pop cover songs with like showcase bands and all that. But I wanted to be like my own artist. I wanted to be booked, but as Heidi. And so um I decided I was going to release an EP, and I didn't know how to make how to make that happen. Um, and so I actually spent a whole summer working at McDonald's full time,
Ooh.
and my shifts were like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I did that like all summer long, so I can pay for my first record, and that was
Wow.
the record that's called an EP. Um, and what's crazy and probably was not a very good idea is those 5 songs were actually some of the first songs I've ever written in my life.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I need to stop saying this because I always kind of like put disclaimer on myself and be like, I'm not really a songwriter. Like, I'm more of a performer, but I'm starting to um, realize and tell myself, no, that's not true. Um, you can write music, and
Sure. Yeah.
um, there's a reason why those 5 songs are out, and they did somewhat well for not having like PR, not having marketing, and literally releasing through like DistroKid. Um, so yeah, like I feel like I started writing music as of necessity, and
Mhm.
then as I dove into like getting to know the artists that I really love right now, um, one time I was in a writing session and somebody had said that my voice sounds like Nikki, which is an
Oh,
Indonesian pop
yeah.
singer.
Shout outs Nikki.
Um, I know, and then I listened to her music and I was like, oh, I see why people would think that. Um, and so she was the only person that looked like me that I could relate to in the
Mhm.
pop scene. And um, eventually I realized that pop R&B was not enough for me to dig deep.
Sure.
I
I
thought
gotcha.
of I thought of pop R&B as this bubblegum thing that um, you only really talk about love. And that's probably not true. Um, but I think I had to. focus on um the songwriting part in order
Mhm.
to tell like stories that are important to me. So
Yeah, no, I think that was, and I told Heidi this was probably one of the main reasons why I wanted to have her on was because I think I felt a lot of similar emotions to her newest album. This shouldn't be typical. I like went through the entirety of the album, and really kind of felt this like weird like kinship with it. Like it was because like I think I've experienced a lot of this stuff and I've talked about it a lot on the channel because I'm not afraid to talk about it because I think it's an important
mhm,
aspect of my life and often like to share about my culture, what I've experienced as a person, and maybe that somebody can relate to it, right? And I think very similarly to artists that I have on, I think that's like the same feeling. Like I want to be able to relate to an artist, and I have to say, like Heidi, I've related so much with it. And some of my favorites
mhm.
off the record were, I believe it's fake shit. I know you have like the you have it all letterized, but I would say that one
Yeah,
was the first one that kind of stuck out to me because obviously I cover a lot of like rock and like metal and like that
right.
sort of stuff. So that one kind of felt a little bit more akin to what I listen to.
Mhm,
But I gotta give a shout outs to three other songs I really enjoyed as well as Look at Me Now, How It Ends, and Typical. I feel like those three were all ones that resonated a lot with me
mhm,
personally. And I was like I was telling Heidi by the end of it, I was like gonna like I felt the emotions like welling up. I was like gonna
mhm.
start like crying because I felt this like I felt this
Oh my
emotiveness.
gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, 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 it's good. I fully am I've cried before on here, so it's not like it's not uncommon for me to I'm very emotive. I but I felt like there was this real kind of like cathartic release at the end with Lullaby and I was sitting here at my computer desk and I was like this like it's so cool how like artists like this just show up in my inbox or Spotify sends them to me and like it's somebody that I probably would have never found out about otherwise and I think it's just
Mhm.
such a cool thing and obviously I love to give representation to the Asian community being, you know, an Asian American
Yeah.
myself like that's an important aspect to it. And kind of wanted to touch on this Heidi as being, you know, a Filipino Canadian, like how important is it to you to be able to represent that? Have people come up to you at shows and been like, "Oh my god, like I can't believe you're just like me," or like, "I can't believe you're showing this sort of representation." Have people kind of reached out to you and been like, you know, been honest with you about their like representation like struggles, I guess per se? Like
Mhm,
do you feel that people like see you and they're like, yes, this is sick. Like that's how I felt. I was like, let's
mhm.
go. I want to be able to highlight Heidi, but have people kind of experience that to you at shows at all?
For sure. There's a shift in my listeners,
Hmm.
in the last year especially. Um, as you were talking, I just kind of it just hit me that 5 years ago I would never tell anybody that I like moved here
Sure, yeah, I feel that.
like at 16. Like I I wouldn't have I never pictured myself like saying that out loud, let alone like telling like thousands of people about that story.
Sure, yeah.
Um yeah, like I feel like there's this shift with my listeners right now where I feel more connected to them and it seems like they feel more connected to me. Um Going into this album, I wanted to write songs not just for me. I wanted to tell the stories that I had and the things that I went through with the thought in mind that I'm not the only person that has gone through these things.
Sure, yeah.
And I would love for like listeners to find songs that they feel like they are understood and that they are represented. So I had a couple of shows this summer that specifically was family friendly,
Sure, yeah, yeah.
and teenagers would come up to me, and some of them were Filipino and some of them are um, Asian, and while they were asking me to sign their I don't know, like shirt or like bracelets and
Sure,
wristbands and
yeah.
all that, um they would tell me and they would ask me if I was Filipino. And the parents would be like, "Oh, I knew you were Filipino, and I like just feel so happy to see someone like you on stage." And I
Yeah.
every time I come across someone like that, where they just feel proud to see someone in music, in the local music scene, that is doing well, that they are just so happy for me and for like my country.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I just like, I feel so proud. Not a lot of people do this, but fun fact, I'm actually not Canadian.
Oh my god.
The running joke.
I saw it on the thing, and then, like, it didn't really click because I was like, "Wait a second." I'm like, "She came from the
Yeah,
Philippines," and I was like, "Wait, she can't," and then my brain just, like, fumbled, so
technically, well, I'm a Canadian resident,
yes.
but I'm a
But
Filipino
you're just
citizen.
Philippines.
I've been here in Canada for about 8 years, and
Nice, okay.
I am technically eligible to be Canadian, but I just haven't done so because I feel a sense of loss in my identity if I become Canadian. So the running joke in my family and like with me and my partner is, my every time there's like a um an article about me, it always says Filipino Canadian, but the joke is Filipino soon to be Canadian is the
Yeah.
real. That's the truth.
That's felt. I got you. As an American citizen, like, permanently, I feel that. So it's a little different. I can't get mine back.
Yeah.
Mine's gone in the ether somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's cool. But I think that was kind of like, again, the representation aspect of it was what really kind of just my like in my head internally, like, it was like a heart and like head thing where I was like, I need to have Heidi on because I think it's like, I feel like this sort of, kinship with like people of like other Asian ethnicities, because I think it's like,
Mhm.
it's so cool for me to see it as, someone who is Korean American. Like, it's so cool to see other artists that are in the scene, whether it's something that I, again, typically listen to or I don't. Like, I think there's a level of respect or honor that I want to, give to you, that I think you deserve a platform to be able to be out there, just as much as anyone else, right? And I think that to me goes larger than like, if I listen to like a lot of pop music, if I listen to a lot of
Mhm.
singer-songwriter stuff, like, you could be like a country artist and I'd still want to give you the time in the spotlight for it.
Aw.
Obviously, it's not my cup of tea, certainly, but I like want to be able to show that, there's plenty of Asian people in this scene of music, whether it's heavy music, pop music, indie music, whatever. Like, there's so many people that I feel like maybe might not get the time of day to be able to speak on their platform, right? And I think that's an important
Mhm.
thing, and obviously just honored to have you a part of the audio addiction fam. So I love that. Um, some artists that I feel like you kind of correlate to, musically, I feel like, uh, I kind of got a little bit of a Olivia Rodrigo kind of vibe, which I love.
Oh.
Uh, I also gave you Nicki, of course, because I've definitely felt
Mhm.
you gave me a Nicki vibe. And the last one might be a little bit of a curveball, but I feel like you kind of gave me a little bit of a like Julian Baker kind of feel, like a singer songwriter like vibe that I really enjoyed. So I feel like those three artists, if you like any of those combination of those three or all three,
Yeah.
that's it. That's
No,
how did I do? Am I close or
I
off
think you're
or
pretty spot on.
oh,
I really tried. I am someone who likes variety,
sure, yeah.
and I like to challenge myself. So, like any record that I am doing or any like songs that I'm doing, I'm always like, can I do pop? Can I do rock? Can I mix? Can I blur the line? Can I do like singer songwriter? Can I do folk? So I feel like this record really represented that stubbornness of me. Like you hear fake shit and it's like, oh, it's a pop rock tune.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
then you hear Look at Me Now and it's like, oh, it sounds like a worship tune. And then Lullaby is like more on the folky side. And then
Yeah.
How It Ends is a little bit more pop. So yeah, I really just try my best to I really appreciate you having me on your podcast, especially I was so excited to see that you were Asian because I was like, "Oh, he gets it.
I get it. Yeah.
He gets it."
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought
Yeah.
too. I was like, yeah, I gotta have Heidi on because like it just felt right. But I have to ask Heidi, in terms of the album, this shouldn't be typical. For people who haven't checked out your project yet, what song would you recommend to a new listener to check out first? I know you just mentioned that you have a variety of different musical genres that you tap into, but is there one song that you're like, if I came up to you and I didn't know your music, what song would you recommend to me first to give me an idea of your sound?
That is so hard because it's like choosing what my favorite
Your
child
favorite? I was
is.
gonna say.
But um again, I really, really strive for representation on this album, and um diving into a more serious like subject. During the pandemic there was an increased violence towards the Asian community,
Mm-hmm.
and
Felt.
felt I felt really scared, not for me but for my mom specifically, because she's this tiny Asian woman, and it's like if somebody attacked her, which you hear about the news especially during that time,
Yeah.
um like what would she do? Like she can't fight. um and so I and then I started noticing like little microaggressions towards me, towards my family, towards
Yeah.
like people that I see. And in my head I was like, if people knew, sorry, there's people mowing the grass out of my condo. I don't know if you can hear it.
I was like, what is she? Okay.
Of course they, I know, I'm like, of course they would do it today.
It's all good.
Um, but yeah, like with that, I just, I was really, really scared and sad about it. And I kept thinking to myself that if people only knew our stories and how we got here,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of work it took for us to like get to the Western world, the sacrifices, um, the time spent away from family,
Yeah.
I
Oh.
thought to myself that people would have a little bit more appreciation for us. Um, and it's every single, not every single, but every other person of color you meet has an incredible story of how
Yeah.
they got here. So I would say I would love for people to listen to Typical, because that one, I wrote it in the perspective of my parents with another person of color. His name's Josh Sahunta. Um, and that song specifically talks about um, coming from a different like country and coming from a different place. And my favorite line is, treat me like I'm different, but hate it when I'm not the same. Because there's a lot of like expectation towards us, and like the world already has like a lot of expectations
No,
for us as
yeah.
human beings, but specifically when you are a person of color, and if you're more so what if you're an immigrant. um and so I really felt like this was the heart of the album, and
Mm-hmm.
this is why I wanted to dig deep and write stories that are write songs about stories that really matter,
Mm-hmm.
and not just talk about like, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend, or I have a new like relationship and all that, which is, we also need those
Yeah.
music, but we also need people to talk about like where they come from. So I would love for people to listen to Typical, because that is the heart of the album.
Yeah, no, I would also agree with that as well. Um, I think I felt this sense of conviction with that song. Like there was something, obviously I've experienced it myself as well. And I think like I felt that like people don't really talk about that a lot because I think it's a divisive topic because obviously, if you've experienced it from the POV of like myself or yourself, like
Mhm.
you understand, like, I understand exactly what that was like, like, I would go to
Mhm.
the grocery store and people would tell me to go back to China, which is, like, obviously, I'm not Chinese, so, like, I was just like,
Mhm.
"You're just wrong." So, like,
Yeah.
that's just wrong inherently, and then on top of that, I'm
Mhm.
like, I speak better English than you do, and you've been here for,
Mhm.
X amount of years, but I digress.
Yeah, and it's like, "Go back to Europe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Go back to
yeah,
Europe."
go back to your yeah, and I think it's just, like, I think, like, it was a very disheartening time, and I think, like, unfortunately, I think that as much as, we would like to say that's in the rearview mirror, I think it's still something that people experience. Obviously, I hope to a lesser degree, and, like, obviously, you know, wouldn't wish that on anyone, but, I think it's always going to be something that is a part of
Mhm.
just being that way. Like, and I think,
Mhm.
like, a lot of other people of color that I've talked to, like, experience things in the same vein, but, like, in a different way. Somehow I think there is, like, that level of connection that you feel with other people that are, POCs. Like, I think, you can definitely feel why, you know, African American people are, you know, marginalized, and,
Yeah.
like, you can feel how,
Mhm.
like, Latinos and, are also marginalized as well, and I think
Mhm.
they're, like, and this isn't me just being like, "White people suck. We hate white people." Like, I don't think that's what the message is, but I think that there's an inherent, like, problem that
Mhm.
people see, like, on TV, or they see on, like,
Mhm.
videos or something like that, and you're just like, "How is this still a thing?" Right? And I feel like it is
Yeah.
to a lesser degree now, certainly, which is nice. And I think that, if anything, I would hope that it allows us to amplify more people of color. Like, I think that that's the important takeaway
Mhm.
that I've gotten over the many years of doing this on YouTube, is, like,
Mhm.
I want to, like, as much as I could think about the negative and be very negative about it, and there's certainly times where I have been very negative about it, I also think at the
Mhm.
same point it's my duty for the platform that I'm on to be able to highlight people of color and people of different gender and people of different backgrounds, because I think it gives people more of a perspective and more of a
For
bird's eye
sure.
view on why it's an important topic, and why I will continue to talk about it until I stop
Mhm.
doing YouTube, and so I appreciate you using your voice to talk about something that obviously is deep
Mhm.
and personal to you, but also, as someone who's also Asian American, I appreciate the fact that, you have talked about something that is difficult, but I think is talked about difficultly in a very approachable way, like in a song. Like, and I think that, like,
Yeah.
it's a very important thing. And again, I'll leave a link to Typical if you haven't given a listen in the description,
Yay!
because it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, like, with that too, it's not, I feel like Typical is not just the song that represents me as
Hmm.
a woman, as a person of color. I think it goes well with, like, women being marginalized,
Sure. Yeah.
with people of um diverse gender, like the LGBTQ
I got you.
community. Yeah, it really, I think it represents a lot of, not, sorry, there was like a lint. Not you see me just like,
You just swiped that out of the air. That was great.
yeah, it's really, I think it represents a lot of things in our society right now, and it's not necessarily like a screw white people and screw, um oh my god, I'm blanking, like screw the patriarchy and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
More so is like, let's, in the 3 minutes or so that you're listening to this song, let's just take a moment and pause and think about what we're all going through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I my goal with this album was to have my listeners, or anybody that comes across it, feel like they could have a song that speaks to them, and have a song that they feel safe and they feel understood, and really do it um in a beautiful, like, way.
Hmm.
Because again, um I wanted to I wanted to write songs not just for me this time in this album.
I would say it's very self-reflective. I think that's what I kind of took away from it was like it allowed me to kind of reflect on the songs, and like obviously there's songs that are gonna be more associated with me and like how I feel, but there's also songs on the album that I felt like, maybe they aren't for me at this time right now, and like I can enjoy
Mhm.
them, like fake shit. Like that one was one that again stuck out to me musically, but I also feel like lyrically as well, like also hit on like stuff that, you know, people can kind of seem a certain way to you, or like, the way you go about things. Like it felt
Yeah.
very personalized, not just to me, but I imagine a lot of people feel that way sometimes. And like, and it was just like a cool moment to just like have like 30 minutes, be very self reflective, listen to it very intently, and like have that moment where I was like, is she like, reading in my like diary or like things that I think
Yeah.
about? Like, it's a little on the nose to where I was like, Heidi, man, like I was like, oh no. I'm like, I felt some type of way, but like in a good way, because I was like emotionally I felt very connected to it. So go
Oh,
give it a go give it a listen. Go give it some love. But
oh,
uh
thank you.
you got it. You got it. Well, the next question I have for you, Heidi, is a fun one because obviously we went on a little bit of a tangent, but we're gonna make our way back a little
Yeah.
bit. What are you currently listening to? What's some artists that you've been jamming recently that's been on your Spotify, or would you just like to jam on a daily?
Yeah, it's a big mess right now. There's no specific like
That's all right. I love a
genre.
big mess.
Yeah, there's no specific genre that I'm like into right now. It's kind of like a blur between like indie, pop, trap, and all that.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, like I'm more inclined to the upbeat songs right now.
Felt.
I'm in my vibe era. I'm in my vibe era, and I
Hell yeah. Let's
to be
go.
honest, I can't wait what's gonna come out of this. But Lady is my favorite band of all time. It's just like 2017 was such a good year for me, and I was like, this is the soundtrack to that, and just brings me back to that all the time. Their new song, Double XL, is Chef's Kiss.
All right.
Um, but the new Olivia album, I can't stop listening to Get Him Back. It's just
Oh,
so good. And like with this record too, I love when you get to go to artists. With her first album, I really, really liked it. But for most of the songs, I couldn't really relate to because she was a little bit younger. But now she's talking about topics like um, being an Asian American woman and All
yeah.
American bitch. Um, and things about like, oh, she's 19 when she wrote this. This is what I was doing when I was 19 and all that. I don't know if you can see me with the sun.
The sun is very in
I
your
know
face.
it really decided to. How are we gonna do this? Is that okay?
That whatever you feel is fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just like things like that, but also like I fucking love the new Doja Cat album.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's
Nice.
so good. Yeah, not a lot of people. I don't tell anybody about this, but I'm just gonna pull up my phone really quickly, and then
Go on ahead.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
This is the time.
because I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say the song because it's a little bit too explicit for anywhere. The
I'll say it.
track number 3 is, oh my god, I can't stop listening to it when I go to my day job, like early in the morning at 7:30. That's what I play.
Oh,
That's what
track
I
3
play.
from Doja Cat's newest album?
What's that?
I said, did you say track 3 from Doja Cat's newest album?
Track 3.
Okay, let me see. I'll say it because I have no.
You're gonna just chuckle.
Let me see. I gotta pull up her Wikipedia. I'm scrolling through. She's got a long Wikipedia page. All right. Track 3 is drum roll, please. Oh God, I don't know if I can say this actually. So I'm not gonna say
So
it because
if
I'd
you,
hate to be out of context.
I know. If you're listening to this podcast right now, just I
You
know
know what it
it will
is.
be an
You know what
inside
it is.
joke.
It just go look it up. You know exactly what it is. I'm not
It's
gonna.
it is my hype song, and I don't know why. The production in that song is just so good. I
It's
can't stop listening to it.
hits.
It's like
Yeah.
crack. But I am very into There's three specific tracks from Jimi Hendrix that I really love:
Ooh,
Purple Haze, Manic Depression, and Bold as Love. Just can't stop listening to it. And then what else? The new Holly Humberstone album is so good. You guys should listen to Antichrist.
okay. I'll give that a
Yeah.
listen.
So it's a whole mess, like I
That's
said.
alright. I'm a whole mess too. I'll listen to, like, some really, like, dumb, ignorant, like, metalcore music, and then I'll
Mhm.
listen to, like, Twice's newest release, like, Ready to Be. So, like, I'm two polar opposites, and then I'll go listen to Heidi's newest album. So like I'm hitting the trifecta here, you know. So
Mhm.
I got you. I feel like my Spotify rap this year is just gonna be just a mess. It is going to be completely messed up. Like I'm not
I
looking
know.
forward to it. I have like a whole another 2 months before I see my Spotify rap, but it's not looking good.
I'm really scared to see it. I'm really scared to see it. But also because my Spotify account is linked to my parents' Google Home, and I know the minute they listen to um
The Doja
the
Cat
minute
song.
they listen to music, no, they listen to Hillsong
Oh God.
because he's
Okay.
Christian.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so there would be like Hillsong and then Doja Cat,
yeah.
that single. And
What a
it
contradiction.
would be so funny, and, like, I don't think I'd be able to share the
Oh, you
Spotify
gotta
Wrapped
post
this
it.
year.
I think that would be so funny. You'd be like, "All right, yeah, so I'm listening to track 3 from Doja Cat, and then like Hillsong will be number 2 on this."
Exactly.
Oh my God. As yeah, someone who is formerly religious, I feel that immensely. So
That's why you, like, Look at Me Now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's also why. Yeah, I felt the wave. You know.
I with that song, with Look at Me Now, actually, it was one of those things that was gonna be a single, but I thought that I don't wanna burn more bridges than I've already had.
Sure.
So with Look at Me Now, it's one of those things where if you listen to it, it's like, if you know, you know.
I do know. Yeah, I felt that
It
one. That was like that was probably other than probably typical. That was the other one that was like, oh, my chest. I'm feeling it. You know, I'm feeling the chest pains.
I
You
know
know.
it's like I know it's like, let's talk about it. And it's one of those things where I was like, um, I always thought that I felt a higher being when I am in worship because I was a worship leader like for like
Oh, okay.
19 years of my life.
Woo.
And I kind of had a thought to myself and my co-writers in the song where we were all like ex-church kids. Let's just
Oh
say
wow.
that. And we were all like, so we're musicians. Is it really the spirit of God or is it just really good songwriting? And so we used the same like metaphors and same like style where you hear, that famous Hillsong song Ocean that was just so big at the time.
I've been well out of the game for a little bit, but I I feel like I feel like if you played it for me, I probably would know it. But yeah, I that's a in the past or yeah, that is like at least a decade plus in the making. So
Oh
I
my gosh. Yeah,
yeah.
everything about that song is like a reference, and it was kind of like a goofy thing where like, is it really good songwriting? Is it like the spirit or is it really good
I
songwriting?
think it's good
If it makes
songwriting.
you feel yeah, I was like, if it, like, can I make people feel something just with using the same like techniques, but actually going against um what people believe? And so I could not have made that a single.
You definitely could not have. I don't think so. I want to just
I will
preface
be
I
disowned.
you would not it would not go over well, I would argue. But
No.
I feel like I that was probably why I added it to my favorites just because I think like again, I feel like that is just like a part of the culture. I feel like somewhat to a degree. Like I feel like a lot of people that I've had on have been like they're like, you know, I'm going down the dark path, you know, like I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not hitting the normal streets. And I think and I've talked about it a lot here, is that I think the reason why I really got into music and the reason why, like, I think music is probably one of the biggest things in my life is because I felt a sense of community in like the heavier scene. Like that was somebody like
Mhm.
I could just go into a local show and people would accept me whether I was like, agnostic, like anti-religion,
Yeah.
whatever, or if I was religious, right? And I think that
Mhm.
that's kind of like I felt a sense of home, like that I felt
Yeah.
had never felt anywhere else, and that's kind of like my main
Yeah.
ode to doing this is because I want to be
Mhm.
able to pay back for all of the years that this has like formulated my life and given me like a new lease on my life, and it allows me to
Mhm.
talk to people like you that have also experienced that and have
Mhm.
felt like that. And I'm not I want to say I want to say that I'm not anti-religious. Like it's if you're religion
Me too.
and people if people find their vision, and they find their path through life through that, that's great. I'll give you your kudos
More
on that.
power.
More power to you,
Yeah,
but it just didn't it just isn't for me. I feel like and that's okay. And I feel like people are okay with that. Now,
for
like
sure.
that's just how you view it. So I feel like Heidi and I same wavelength, same vibe,
I know.
The vibe checks are on point.
The vibe checks the vibe checks are checking.
The next question I have for you, Heidi, is you did mention before when you originally started out doing music, you did a lot of cover songs. So I feel like now I got to revisit the question. If you could pick any song to cover now, is there any that come to mind that you would just love to throw in your repertoire?
Oh my god. Like a new one
A
or
new one, yeah. Like if you were to play a show tonight and you had to pick a cover song, is there any song that comes to mind in off the top of the dome that you're like, I need to have this. I need to play
Doja
this.
Cat Scarlet track number 3.
That would be an
It's
interesting
just
take.
so good. I know you need to listen to the production. The production is just so inviting. Like once you listen to it, it's like, oh my god, like I need that groove back again. It's not like I when I listened to that, I was like, I don't care what she's talking about. It just sounds so good.
I got you. Okay. But then you'll actually have to sing it. So then, tomato, tomato.
Like I said, it's all about the vibe.
You're like, I'm gonna end this song off with track 3 from Doja Cat. If you
Yeah.
know, you know.
I
That's
would love
great.
for people to like if your listeners are feeling inclined to, I would like for them to look at that album and pick out track number 3 and listen to it and like message me on Instagram and like let me know how you feel. Let me
The
know how
vibes,
you
yeah. Give
feel.
me a vibe check. I got you. I got you. That's a good move.
It's so vibey.
Well, if you guys have any suggestions for Heidi, you should drop them in the comments as well. I can't guarantee if she'd do it because obviously I don't have any control over Heidi. But I feel like a nice suggestion would help. So if you want to give a good suggestion, drop it down in the comments. Maybe she'll do it. Maybe she won't. I don't know. If you suggest track 3 from
Stay
Doja Cat's
tuned.
newest album, then I think that's a double thumbs up from her. But otherwise, the verdict's out. I don't know.
My listeners would be so shocked if I
I'd be
released
about
the
it.
cover of that.
I will give you your
My
energy. I got you.
my monthly listeners will just like go down. They'd be like, this is not what I signed up for. And I'm like, I know I get it.
No, I think you could do it. You could rock it. I feel like if I was gonna pick a song more in your lane, oh man, that's tough. I feel like you could. I feel like you could do an Olivia Rodrigo track. I think you could crush. I think you could crush one of those.
I actually have done Good For You and
Oh, okay.
Brutal. Yeah,
I
and
feel like you
because
could
I
do a
like
new
to
one.
do I really like Get Him Back.
That would be
That's a
great.
very good
I think you
song.
could crush that one. I love that
But
song too.
also Pretty Isn't Pretty resonates with me a lot, and it's just so good.
It's I like shout outs to my one of my old coworkers, Steve. He put it on and he's like me. He's like, I'll listen to like brutal metal music and then listen to Olivia Rodrigo. And he was like, you should listen to this album. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll listen to it. Like, I have no problem listening to Olivia Rodrigo. And I went and listened to it and I was like, oh my God. I was like, the songs that she like that I initially think of, like Driver's License, Good for You, like, I'm like, I wanna hear those songs. Like, like, I hear them all the time, they're on radio, like, but
Mhm.
I have to give her so much respect because the songs that aren't on the radio are great.
Mhm.
Like, they're great like, the songs are written super
Mhm.
well, they're super, like, the production value is awesome, and I think she's such a great songwriter, and I've with the newest album she just released, like, that was one I was, like, genuinely shocked. I was like, I enjoyed the entirety of the record, and normally
Yeah.
I wouldn't give like, normally, like, if you told me this, like, 3 years ago, I normally probably would never listen to Olivia Rodrigo, but
Mhm.
I actually enjoy the album. It probably will be in my top 10 list or top 20 list, I don't know, this year
For
because
sure.
I really enjoyed it. It was very, like, emotive, very, like, emotional, and
Yeah.
I think she really, like I feel like she put a lot of, like, heart into it, and I appreciate
For
that.
sure. You could hear the maturity too. That's why I'm like, this album is actually, I love this album more than Sour, although Sour is like so good and I
It
listen to it
is
a lot.
good. Yeah.
Um, but like I feel like she probably had the same approach as what I was thinking for my album. Not that it's like correlated
No,
or
T
anything,
yeah,
but
yeah,
she was
yeah, same lane. Yeah.
yeah, I think she was very mindful of her platform and the things that she needs to address and could address. So like topics of like self-image, body image, as like a person in Hollywood and like her place in the world as a woman, and not a lot of people about that, but she's half Filipino.
Yeah. I knew that.
And yeah, and it's like um there's also a couple things where I just felt like get him back. Like I was literally like that when I was 19. And when I first heard that, I was like, oof, I wish I had this when I was 19. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel a sense of connection with her songwriting now where I was like, I'm so happy that she's matured and she's like doing everything that she is supposed to do and more.
Crushing it. Shout out to Olivia Rodrigo. I don't know if you watch my show, but, come on the show, be sick. I know we're friends now. You know Heidi, so it's great. Look at that magic. But next question I have for you, Heidi, is a fun one as well. What is your favorite food to eat? What's your go-to?
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so stereotypical of me, but it's a Jollibee.
What?
It
Oh,
literally is Jollibee. If every time I'm sad, my partner would buy me burger steaks.
oh, that's
And no,
cute.
he's so sweet, and it's just this. It's very nostalgic for me because where I grew up, there's really only one restaurant, and that was Jollibee because it's the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I've always only ordered one thing, and it was burger steak. And this is like it's like the gross burger patties with like gravy and mushroom, and you eat it with rice. It's really gross. Like I don't know anybody else who like that, but it's just so comforting to me. Every time I miss home, I
You
go
just
and
get that.
sit in Jollibee because it's like, oh, it's the land of my people. Everybody there, like when you walk into a Jollibee, we're all the same height.
Yeah.
Nobody,
The
yeah.
vibes are on
And
point.
I know the vibes are on point. You just feel like I feel right at home. And if I'm like ever sad, I would just take myself to Jollibee, and it's just so nostalgic for me. I celebrated everything in my life growing up by going to Jollibee for like dinner. So, oh yeah, now I want Jollibee.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Fun fact, I have never been to Jollibee.
Oh my god, you need to try it.
I'll
You
make sure
need
to
to try it.
Instagram DM you once I hit a Jollibee's. I'll just be like,
Oh my
Heidi,
god,
I did it. I
please.
did it. I made it. I
Uh,
made it to the Holy
I
Land.
actually, oh my god, it's actually so funny because like 8 years ago there was no Jollibee in Canada, and
Same with the States.
oh, true. So like a little, I promise you, this actually happened a day before my flight to Canada. I sat in Jollibee for 4 hours and ate every single thing in the menu. I was like, I'm gonna miss
Oh
it so
my
much. So
God.
No, I was like, and it was just me and my like my teenage boyfriend at that time. I just sat there. I was like, there's no Jollibee in Canada. I don't know where I'm gonna be back in the Philippines. I'm gonna miss it so much. So I'm just gonna literally just sit here and savor every meal.
And then meanwhile, you're like, and then Kenna's like, all right, we got Jollibee for you. And you're like, I don't have to miss it. It's going to be
No,
right here.
it actually is. The Jollibee here in Edmonton did not open until like 2019.
Ooh,
So
okay.
like 4 years ago.
Damn. But now you got it,
And
though.
then I know when it happened, there was like a whole lineup.
Like a parade. Yeah.
Like people, no, for sure, people would line up at like 5 a.m. to like get to the
Oh
opening.
my
It's
God.
insane.
I need to.
Filipinos are crazy.
I respect. I fuck with the vision. You know what I mean? Like I'm about it. I'll have to. Guys, let me know if you are Filipino. I shout outs to my other homie Josh. He's in this band called Auras, and he's also Filipino, and he's like either you have to get Jollibees or lumpia, and I was like, bro,
Oh my gosh. Now that you're saying that, I actually was contemplating making spring rolls today, which is the lumpia.
oh,
It's so cheap to make, Brandon. Like it's like $30. And
$30.
the
Oh my
last
God,
time
that's awesome.
it's no, it's $30, and I made like 100 pieces of lumpia to take to like a potluck. And that's all I did for like a whole Saturday afternoon. I was like, I would not want to do anything more than this. So
I need
I think I
some.
might do that after this
I
because
need
you
some lumpia.
reminded me.
I need some lumpia now. I'm vibing. You know, I've had actual Filipino food, but I haven't had Jollibee. So now I gotta. If you guys, yeah, let me know. I should try. I feel like I should try Jollibee. You know, because shout outs to
You just
Asians.
have to.
I feel like it's a tried and true. But let me know what you get. If you've been to Jollibee before, let me know in the comments what I should get because
Did Did you know that McDonald's actually doesn't do well in the Philippines because of
I'm not that
Jollibee?
surprised. Yeah, that makes sense actually. I thought about it for a second and then I was like, wait, Jollibee's is probably like way better. So
Yeah,
that makes
it's
sense.
everywhere.
Jollibees, if you want to sponsor both of us, I mean that would be sick. You know, DMs are definitely open.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that'd be sick. Let's do a collab, all three
Yeah,
of
that
us.
would be
I'll
so
fly to
fire.
Edmonton. Let's do it.
It would be so fire.
There we go. Next question, Heidi, is if you could pick somebody to collaborate with on an up and coming Heidi song, who would you love to collaborate with? One, I feel like you can give me the answer of somebody that you know that you like. If you wink wink, nudge nudge, ask them, they would be like, yo, I'm down to do it. And then obviously one that you'll manifest. We're putting it out there, you know. So one realistic one manifestation.
Oh my gosh. I would really love to be in the room with Nikki,
Mm,
um, and be on the same track as her, just for the vibes.
I
Just
feel felt.
two Asian girls. She grew up in Indonesia and moved to the States when she was the same age as me, and I moved. You know the story behind that. Um, but I would love to be in a writing session with Julia Michaels and have her write with me, write for like a single or an album, and I'll just like sing it. She was really like listening to her for the first time gave me gave me the affirmation that I need when I was starting out. That I was like, oh, I can write songs. It's because her approach to songwriting is not, it's not metaphorical. It's not, she doesn't complicate things. She says it how it is, and it's direct to the point, straight to the point, no fancy words or anything. But it makes you, like the way I describe it is, it just makes you want to throw up because it's like, oh my god, like it just hits you. It hits you like a bus.
Oh yeah.
And I would just love for me to like tell her a story and like just pick her brain on what she'd come up with. Like that would be the dream.
I feel like she's the embodiment of being direct. Like I think she is
Be
like
so honest.
she's like that one friend that you like hit up and you're like if you're being stupid like she'll tell you, "Hey, you're being dumb. You're stop being dumb. Like wake up and
Yeah.
just like slap me up, you know?" So,
I know I really want to be best friends with her.
shout out
She's
to Julia
noticed my
Michaels.
comments twice. She's liked my comments twice. And so I'm like,
Oh, excuse me.
I'm like, she at one point knew that I exist. So
Celebrity
that
status here.
I'm,
Excuse
yeah,
me. I
I
didn't know I
know.
was talking to a celebrity. This is great. I'm vibing. Well, guys, listen. I need you to tag Heidi on Instagram, and then I also need you to tag Julia Michaels, and I also would love for you to tag Nikki, and then type the word collab question mark. And I've been on the internet for long enough, so like I feel like if you see it on the internet, there's a very good chance it could be real. So like I'm just saying,
Yeah,
put that energy out
it might
there.
happen.
Yeah, I think it's gonna
I would
happen.
love to.
They're cooking, so that's I feel like it could happen. So let's make it work. But the next question I have for you, Heidi, is if you were to compile a dream tour lineup, including yourself, who would be on the Heidi tour?
Oh my gosh, that is so hard. Is it like the am I headlining or am I
you
like the
you
opener?
could put yourself wherever you want, but I'm gonna give you four other groups, including your no, yeah, including yourself. So five total. I can't count apparently.
5 5 total?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that
So
is so hard.
four choices that you can make, and this includes yourself. So so you have four actual choices.
Okay, I would love to open for I don't know, that is so hard. You know what? I would really and this is something that's not gonna happen.
No, you don't know
Um,
that.
I would have loved I would love to have open for Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
He's
okay,
just
yeah, that's
so
fair.
iconic.
Yeah,
He's one of those people where, like, I've never met him, and obviously I never will, but he's like an icon where I still grieve his passing because the influence and the artistry that he just had is mind blowing. Like
I
no
would
one
agree.
is going to be better than Jimi Hendrix. I would have loved to be on the same bill as him. Um, I would also like to open for um, Gail. Gail is my obsession right
Ooh,
now.
okay.
Yeah, that that new EP that she released is so addicting. Um, and what else? If I am headlining, that is so hard because I'm like,
You can
I
do
would
it.
love to
I
head
got I got
to.
faith.
Oh my god, I would love to headline with with 88 Rising.
Ooh, yeah, okay, that would be sick. Yeah, head in the clouds. You could do something like that.
Head in the clouds, yeah,
Come on,
that would be the dream.
come on, 88 Rising. Come on, I know you could do it.
I know.
You're looking
That's
out.
like I know that's actually earlier in my career, my only goal was to be signed by them. I still have not given up hope, but
I think you got it.
it would just be so nice, you know?
I'm putting the positive affirmations out there for you. I mean, if they sign me too, I'll be sick. That like,
I know.
let's do it. I think that'd be great. I think you would
Yeah.
actually do pretty well with like a Joji as well. If I had to throw a
Oh
hat
my
in the ring, I think that'd be kind of tight. I'd be about it.
yeah. He when I first listened to him, I was like, I'm gonna
Oh,
do lo-fi. That's the yeah, the first few songs that I heard from him, I was like, oh, this is the kind of music I made. So some of the songs on my first record was inspired of basically just 88 Rising in general.
yeah. I've noticed recently my trend in music has been like more like Asian artists. So like right now, I'm in my Keshi phase, which if you haven't checked out
Ooh,
Keshi, Chef's Kiss. Oh, I love his
Chef
stuff.
Kiss.
I love him. Big salutes. Keshi, come on the show. I know you I've given you so much Spotify listens over like the past like 6 months now at least. So I'm just saying, would love to have you
That
on.
would be so fun. I feel like he would be chill.
He seems very
He would
chill.
be
Yeah.
chill. Yeah. Joji might be a little bit unhinged.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know him from like YouTube. So like I know him like
Oh my
I
god.
know his YouTube era. So like I know for a fact he can be unhinged. So I'm just gonna leave it
Oh
at
my
that. I'm not trying to
gosh.
throw him under the bus. But if you know, you know. That's how I'm gonna leave it at that.
But like no one's more unhinged than Rich Brian, so we can give everybody a
They're just I don't know. They're I feel like they're like
in their group.
neck and
Oh,
neck.
you think so?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would probably I would say I would maybe say Joji's maybe a little bit more tame now, but I know that dude can go off. So
Oh
I'm just
my
gonna leave it at
gosh.
that. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I feel like an 88 Rising's like show with Heidi on it, I would be there,
Yeah,
100%.
I grew up. There's a new artist that they have. Her name's Ilona,
Okay, I'll have to
and
check it out.
she's Filipino. I actually grew up watching her on this reality TV back home. Yeah,
What? Oh, that's so
yeah,
sick.
yeah. I've known her for, not that I personally know her. I've known about her for a long time, and I
That's
was
so
like, you know
sick.
what? That makes so much sense that she's on that label.
Well, listen, they can have enough room for another Filipino artist. So I'm just saying, 88 Rising.
You know
Where you
what's
at?
so funny? I I think, and I'm not quite sure if this is accurate, they made a sub label just for Filipino artists. I think it's called Paradise Rising or something like that.
I'll have
It's
to check it
pretty
out.
cool.
That's interesting. I'll have to check out all the artists on there. That'd be really sick. Hmm. Good food for thought. I Paradise Rising.
Yeah,
If you're listening, hit up the DMs. My people and Heidi's people talk to your people.
yeah,
Let's do it.
exactly.
Um, Next question, Heidi. Ironically enough, you did mention paradise, so I feel like I have to ask this question as well. If you were trapped on a desert island for the next month, and there was one album you could bring with you to listen to, what album would it be?
I would bring, um, oh my gosh. No, that's so hard. Just one?
Just one, yeah. It's a month. I feel like you can rock with a month. It's not all time. I feel like that's like crushing. I can't do that.
Oh my God. Um, why, Brandon?
I'm sorry.
That's so hard. I would do, okay. I was torn between like Julia Michaels' Inner Monologue one or um the Lainey debut album. I would say
Ooh.
Lainey because there's just a lot of variety and it's a longer album that I would not get sick of it. And also like when I first listened to that album, I was like, this is the album where I'm 75 and I would still listen to this. So I have to go with Lainey by Lainey.
I feel you. I will say it's a very hard question, but I like tailored it so I'm like, okay, it's difficult, but it's not impossible to answer. I feel like if I
Yeah.
said you were on a desert island for the rest of eternity and you had one album to listen to, I feel like I would just be like, get me the hell out of here. I don't need to answer
Yeah.
that question, you know?
Yeah.
Month's a little feasible, but the last question for you, Heidi. I appreciate you spending the time. If you haven't gone to check out Heidi yet, check the links in the description, please. Go show her some love. But I wanted to know we've talked about everything from being Asian as well as your musical growth and career, and obviously nothing but positivity and good vibes to you going
Thank
further.
you so much.
But I wanted to know why you are passionate about music. I think oftentimes when I have artists on, I love to know why people are passionate about making music because it's difficult, it's hard.
It's
You put a lot
difficult.
of money into it. Like people always say, "Why are you still doing this?" It's
Mhm.
there's a lot stacked against you, and I feel like there's a special
Yeah.
kinship that people have that either are part of the music industry or are musicians, right? And so I wanted to extend the question and ask you why music is important to you and why you feel so passionately about getting it out there to people.
Yeah. I feel like music and arts in general is such a powerful tool, and I think it has a power to change a lot of things in our society.
Agree.
And it could also be like a tool to mess up a lot of things. So for me, I would just love to utilize that tool and that platform for um, to make everybody's life a little better in like the short amount of time I get to spend with them, the 4 minutes under that I get to like just be with my listeners, be with other people that I haven't met before, and just really make them feel like they have a friend. Because there's been a lot of times in my life where nothing understands me the way music does.
Agreed.
Um, and yeah, like I don't take my platform for granted, although it's not a very big platform just yet. I am
Just yet.
hopeful.
You can do it. I
Um,
got faith.
yeah, and I would love, I, my goal really is just to use that platform for like the betterment and like more understanding between everybody else. And yeah, it just, music has a way of making us feel things that um, we've never thought of before.
I would agree. Yeah, I think it's a great vessel. That's kind of how I
Hmm.
view it. Is like just doing interviewing for almost 8 years of my life. Like it's so cool to have. It's so cool to have a perspective on like people from different backgrounds, whether their background is, you know, apparently very similar to mine, or can be completely different. And I think that that is like such a beautiful thing where like you can have a conversation with someone and really kind of go to understand someone based off of what type of music they make. And like
Exactly.
I appreciate you for being so open about your struggles and like the things that you deal with, because I think for me personally, it made me more attached to what you make in your art, because it's important
Oh,
for
I'm
me.
so happy.
It's important for me. Like I think, and I would hope that it's not only important for people that are of color, but I also think it's important for people to be able to express their emotions and be able to say what they need to say, right? And I think that music is
Hmm.
just, as I mentioned, a great vessel for that to happen. So
Hmm.
I appreciate you being on the platform here with me and being able to share your
Thank you
love of
for
making music.
having me. This has been so fun.
No problem, Heidi. But I got to round it off with the most important question, the question that people are coming here for. Where can they find you at? What do you have coming up next? What's going on in your life? What can people know about you, and where can they find you at on all the social media?
Yeah, please like check out my music on all streaming platforms, and that's on my name Haidee. You can find it everywhere, and on TikTok and Instagram it's HAIDXE.
There we go. Well, go check out Heidi. Again, major shout outs to Adam at Outer Research.
We
Big
love
salutes to
Adam.
homie. But also wanted to give a major shout outs to Heidi. Love being able to represent the Asian fam. I love them. So
Thank you so
if
much
you
for
are an
having
Asian
me.
if you are an Asian artist, hit me up. Would love to have you on. But please go check out Heidi. She has a new album out. This shouldn't be typical. It's out now. It's if you want to be taken on an emotional roller coaster, do it up. Get the tissues,
Woo!
get it out. Let it out, let it loose. So
It's
please.
perfect for your sad girl walk, your sad girl fall walk. Yeah.
It's a sad girl. I am not a girl, but I am sad sometimes. So I'll go for a sad guy walk or something, or cry in my room right now. But go check
Oh my
out
god.
Heidi. She is great, very incredible songwriter, and honestly, the record is fantastic. So please go show her some love. If you enjoyed this interview, share, like, and subscribe. I'm super super close to 3,000 subs, and I'm pretty sure by the time this comes out, I'll
Yay!
probably be at 3,000. So thank you so much. But if I'm not, you can get me there a little closer. So thank you for watching, and huge thanks to Heidi for coming on and chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me.